And you are set, sir.
All right, good. Okay, we'll start tonight's City of Olivet's Planning and Community Design Commission for February 5th, 2026 to order. Our Secretary, Petrie. Oh, you're acting? Oh, thank you. Very
Um, Chairman Robert Dragell,
present.
Member Jenna Nat,
Present.
Member Tim Spiegelglass,
Absent.
Secretary Petrie Paul,
Absent.
Member Felicia Ford,
Present.
Member Laura Ragsdale, present, and Vice Chair Sam Wallach.
Present. Let it also be known that our City Council liaison, Brian Lewis, is not in attendance, but we're honored to have Kate Pichon-Hellman, Pichon Hellman in attendance. So appreciate that. As well as staff liaisons, Carlos Trejo, City of Olivet's Planning and Community Development Department Director, Don Doty, Senior Planner, and Jack Carswell, Planning and Zoning Administrator. All right. Thanks, everybody in attendance. We appreciate the big audience we have today. I know you know how things go, but Carlos, do we have anybody online?
No, sir. Not as of
Okay.
yet. I'll keep an eye out.
So we'll make it brief. We go follow the agenda item one by one, as you have seen before, before. There'll be a staff presentation. We'll go over that with staff, and then we'll bring on the petitioner to answer any questions. And if there's any public comments, we'll take those. We do hold public comments at the beginning, for items not on the agenda. Being that there's nobody in attendance, we probably won't need to do that, but we do ask any public comments be limited to 3 minutes, be respectful of everybody's time, and to make sure everybody's opinion gets heard. So, all right, well, Carlos, I don't see any reason to give online instructions.
No,
So-
sir. That
so
doesn't appear
we'll
that
just
anybody.
move on. Carlos, do you have any announcements?
No, sir. I'll save those towards the end.
Okay, good. So we'll move on to public comments. Anybody in the audience have a public comment? Seeing none? Carlos, nobody online still?
No, sir.
All right, then we'll move on to old business. Item 3, number A, 800 Braxton Court. Jack?
Good evening, Commission. So this item was before you on January 19th. It was deferred due to us sending the plans over to the stormwater consultant to get their review comments. The comments that we received back, the consultant has reviewed the plans and has forwarded the analysis for the staff review. From the comments from the start, what was happening on the site, there was not any stormwater detention, and from staff's opinion and from the consultants, what's being put to propose for the roof area is addressing the concerns for the stormwater and collecting double what was not on the site originally. So it's actually going to enhance the site and collect more water. They did just have a comment about mitigating stormwater generated from ground improvements. So they talked about installing a grate or an opening to the edge of the rear of the driveway. However, I just want to make it aware to the commission that that collection of the groundwater from that driveway doesn't really follow the principles of our 422 stormwater code, as in it's supposed to collect the roof area and the ground area is supposed to happen and flow naturally. However, that we just want to make it aware to the commission if that's a concern or improvement that you guys would like to see. The consultant was talking about the incorporation of that grate for the rear of the driveway.
How strong did he feel about it?
Carlos, how would you?
It's only picking up the turnaround component, just this part here, because this is flowing towards the street.
Yeah.
So you're picking up some. In reality, it won't make a major impact, but it is visually, it is that something was done.
Yeah.
And that's up to the commission. It's somewhat like Mr. Carswell had indicated, contrary to the principles of Chapter 422, where we want to use the ground and not necessarily infrastructure.
Yeah.
We do that for the house. But again, from a visual appearance, it would look like something was put in place.
Gotcha.
And that would be putting maybe, 2 yard inlets here and then connecting to the outflow pipe or directly into the MSD system.
Oh, okay.
We don't want it to go into to the detention system
Yeah, you're right.
because we don't know what that,
But it would be allowed to go directly into the,
correct. And that's what they're doing with their detention system. They're connecting directly into the MSD main.
so that would be an improvement.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what, and again, we would, because it's kind of contrary to what I just told you. And the reason is what MSD would like to see is, when we get a big rain event, it happens so fast and things get overcharged.
Yeah.
What these detention systems are intended to do is that when it rains so fast, the runoff from the roof goes into this detention pit, kind of holds off for a while because it's got to release it eventually,
Right.
holds off for a while, and hopefully the big storm has passed and then it can release and it's not backed up or overcharged
Right.
in that process. So that's how that's set up. The direct inlets on the driveway will go directly into the system as soon as it starts raining, and just adding to that. I don't anticipate that it'd be a big amount, but again, it would look like a visual improvement. But I don't think it would.
What portion of the driveway would flow that way?
There's a cutoff line probably right around here. You can see how this 504 goes this way. Somewhere around it starts going back this way. So this is flat right here, 594 to 594. So in theory, you're going to pick up this area here.
But it would be it would help basically kind of alleviate any concern that this new house increased any issues associated with
Yes,
the
I mean,
original code.
absolutely. But understand too, we just took over 1,500 square feet of existing land area that is no longer going to be contributing to the stormwater.
Right.
So
What's your recommendation?
I would like to kind of compare it.
Didn't expect that question, did you?
No, it's one where, again, it's not, for me, it's not an issue, but the cost proportion to the value brought in. And I know that's not supposed to be our concern. I don't know what the permit cost is to tap into that MSD main. They're going to do it already, so they can maybe tap into their own pipe in there, as long as MSD just doesn't provide another obstacle or make it more bureaucratic than it needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my concern, because I don't know what MSD would do. And we're doing one tap.
Well, if you
that's-
tapped
they've been
into
okay with
that one, it could backflow back into the.
There is that
detention
concern, and that's more on a design aspect of it.
And
Again,
just to restate here, even without this potential addition, the consultant's conclusion with this is an improvement over
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Because there is no detention right now. Everything that hits the roof of the existing house just flows out.
Okay.
And sorry, real quickly, just also a note was the consultant said that everything, from the site was being collected within that detention pit, and that the other, the other neighboring sites do pose, complications to the concerns of the water, but it seems like it comes from the neighboring properties. Whatever's happening on 800 Braxton is being contained.
And what I'll note too, I know we have a couple of members that weren't at the concern here is, let's see, let me get the best view. There's roughly, let's see. I'm looking for a cross section, and they got the necessary cross section, but it's not as visual. Right at this point, it drops about 4 to 5 feet. It's just the natural slope of the grade. And so when you look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, all that's coming this way. And it is, but that's the way it's still going to happen that way.
The way it is now
Correct.
and the way it's been.
And-
What did he say if there was any way to help with that?
Without no.
Yeah.
I mean, if we would have asked about regrading the site, putting retaining walls and essentially recontouring the grades on here,
Yeah.
which then I'm kind of contrary to the other principles, but I mean, it is something we can, that take a look at. Ultimately, that's still going to get captured in a retaining wall and it has to release somewhere. Now, it could go back into that same pipe. Just want to make sure MSD I'm concerned that MSD would say no to 2 connections.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I understand, especially without any.
and it's something we can inquire and check to see how far,
I was surprised that they would allow 1 connection, but I'm sure that's because it's a
It's-
detention system.
Correct. It's a new thing that they've been allowing, and as long as we get it connected to a detention, they're okay, as long as you go from point A to point B and then B to C, C being the main, they're fine, but not from an A to C.
Yeah.
So,
Did the neighbor have any additional comments? I know he appeared at the last meeting to talk a little bit about it.
no, I did talk to Mr. Sutton. He's the neighbor immediately behind, and he was fine. He was concerned with some of the trees on his site, and that was about it.
Okay.
Okay.
And I just want to state to the commission, we also just have it, that the petitioner will comply with the applicable stormwater requirements and consultant comments as determined by staff and revise the plans accordingly. But for staff and approval prior to applying for the building permit. So we will just have that as a condition of approval that he will address prior to his applying for the building permit.
Yes. Okay, good. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack.
Um, um, so we're ready for the petitioner now, if you would like to come up. You don't need to? Okay. Do you have any preference on the, on that? Okay, no. Any further discussion on that? I mean, how do you guys feel about that system? I'm not sure. If the consultant didn't strongly recommend it, I'm almost kind of the same impression of Carlos that it'd be too many contingencies, and I honestly just don't think they're going to allow it. So I'm opposed to trying to keep it simple and just stick with our own statutes or our own plan rather than trying to recreate something at this point in time that could be detrimental. But I'm open if anybody wants to further discuss it. I mean, I'm good. Carlos, how do you feel about that?
No, I like our ordinances compared to the MSD requirement would have looked at the existing, let's say, a 1,500 square foot house. And then would require a detention for the differential of what is the new house. So let's say it was 2,500. So MSD would require you to address 1,000 square feet of stormwater detention. Our ordinance says, no, we're going to just do the entire new roof. So
Right.
in theory, we're now offering 3,500 square feet of detention area to the site. So it's hard to say, it's hard to envision that any more in the ground area is going to make a substantial difference.
Agree.
And what you do address within the site, remember, this is just a site in the middle of a slope.
Yeah.
So it's not what happens here, it's what's happening above. This is not the high point
Above, below, and all
of the
around.
street,
Yeah.
So, that it doesn't necessarily mean that there are concerns. They're at the very bottom. I mean, and that's really the bad part. The new house has been mounded, and they're okay. Mr. Sutton's house is one of the old traditional ranch houses, and he is pretty low, but right now he's got those 2 inlets
For the
side to side.
For the people that weren't here before, there's a house, it's to the south of this, I think it's south, I'm not sure, but it's to the bottom of this picture to the right. That house was previously mounded up, so their backyard kind of slopes into the next yard. That was conducted before we had, restrictions on, kind of height elevations and, things like that.
So here's a view of the neighbor behind them, and then you can see the slope of the, how it drops right there.
So,
And again, they're not altering this slope or moving it outward. In that case, I would, then
yeah.
there would be an opening. No, everything is still up on this top area.
Okay, good. Okay, any other further discussion?
I look at this like it's the condition is grandfathered in is a term we use in my world. And beyond that, the addition that's being proposed is coming with an improvement. So
Yeah,
to me, it's being taken care of.
I agree. So do I hear a motion?
Bear with me 1 second. I'll get that up for commission members.
It's on the back of the page. If anybody
Yes,
Also,
but there you go. It's now on your monitors.
I'll make a motion.
go ahead, Sam.
Motion to authorize approval of the petition for site plan, community design and concept stormwater management review for a new single-family home at 800 Braxton Court as presented in the memorandum from the Department of Community Development dated February 5th, 2026, subject to any staff conditions noted therein.
Motion's been made by Sam Wallach. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And seconded by Laura Ragsdale?
Yes.
Yeah, good. We can tell. Carlos, you please call the vote.
Commissioner Ford,
Approved.
Commissioner Nat,
Approved.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approved.
Commissioner Wallach,
Approved.
Commissioner Jurgel,
Approved.
and the motion passes unanimously 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Chairman, one quick note, if you don't mind, taking the comments from the commission, and there, so Mr. Cardwell is now adding to the staff reports, and this is also because we got council liaison, previous homes that have been submitted by the petitioners. So you have some reference, a frame of reference, what they've provided in the past.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Appreciate it, Jack, going up and beyond. All right, so we'll then move on to item B, text amendment for the LID Light Industrial District regarding data centers.
Okay,
Carlos?
Chairman, we've Pavel, they just, Chairman, there's somebody online and it's Mr. Ivanchuk, who is the architect for Mr. Oleg.
Yeah,
And,
you want to talk to him and explain that it passed.
Pavel, they approved 800 Braxton Court and Jack.
Yes, yes, I saw that. Sorry. I joined. For some reason, the media didn't show up, so I had technical issues. But I saw the approval. Thank you.
All right, sir. Good night. Okay, Chairman, this item, of course, has been before the commission late last year. We've gone a couple of rounds in there. And basically what we're trying to do is be a little bit proactive to address data centers in our community before we receive any petitions. Right now, a data center, and you've heard a lot of them, and they were all over the news this week, is permitted by right in our light industrial districts. So if somebody saw a building that was available, they could make application, and all they have to do is apply for their building permits and occupancies and go in, because that's the process of being allowed by right. What we would like to do is to change that and to require them to obtain a special permit. What a special permit is they have to go before the commission first, receive a recommendation, and then the council has to authorize them and approve them, and the council is not beholden to the conditions of the code, because it is the unelected body or legislative body, as opposed to the commission, who's administrative, and therefore has to, comply with what the code conditions are. So what we've been proposing and discussing is establishing a definition for data centers. We use the Census Bureau to establish our definitions, and they have one for what our data centers are called: data processing, hosting, and related services. And there we would ask, that we amend the light industrial district to change it from a permitted use to a special permit use. And then we would identify specific conditions, kind of expectations that they need to be aware to address with the community. One is that it would only be allowed in a lot area of over 120,000 square feet. The property has to be at least 300 feet from the nearest residential zone property. There would be specific performance standards that they'd have to address, including electric, water, sound, and noise. There would be some building and site standards addressing cooling, stormwater, and lighting. And then we would restrict their generators and battery energy storage systems in there. And then, it would be up to the commission, again, to forward recommendation to the council and the council to consider how they address these items and which items were complied with too, of course, numerically, and make a determination whether it is compatible with the surroundings. Now, one more thing, Ms. Doty did put some maps together here. This is right now all the parcels over 120,000 square feet shown in this blue. And then this purple will show the parcels that are 120,000 square feet and 300 feet from the nearest residential property. So that kind of restricts it to Auto Beauty, which has been a long time tenant of the city of Olivet, has quite a bit of investment. Oh, not Auto Beauty, I'm sorry, Murphy Company and Murphy Company's manufacturing facility. This is a warehouse where Schnucks does all their floral. And then this is a Purvis, and I forgot what Purvis does. They used to do foils, I know that, but
It's a metal type
manufacturer.
fabricator.
So we held up, the commission had asked just to make sure that the city attorney is aware. I did send the draft to her. She's kind of on a call for a federal, you call,
She's sequestered for a federal trial. So and two of you who know what's going on with that, and me, because my husband's a lawyer. She has to be on call 24/7, at any point whenever they need her for this federal grand jury.
So last thing I'll note, we looked at the East-West Gateway Council of Governments has a great database of information. I provided the link on the agenda, and there we also looked at a couple of communities. This was like about 2 weeks past, so we looked at communities, for the past couple of months, 2 weeks ago. In there, it's kind of hard to express or state, and there was a couple of good ordinances in there. We wanted to do something that we can kind of expedite. Right now, we don't have any standing petitions, but this is an ongoing thing. In there, and you'd be surprised on where these locations are going. Two, what Crave Corps did is they just changed it from a permitted use by right to a special permit use, and that's it. They didn't add any of those additional conditions in there. Warrenton did, and that's just where we got the majority, along with some information from East-West Gateway. You had seen at least the city of St. Louis has came out with a kind of like an outline of what their intentions are to do. This kind of mimics that in there. And then this morning, St. Charles came out with an outright prohibition completely, as a moratorium is coming to a close. And again, my professional opinion as a city's planner is like, you cannot ban a use. I mean, or else nobody would allow adult entertainment. Now, whether that's freedom of speech or such, you just can't ban it in there. And those are the things that are going to get all communities in trouble if the state has to come in, step in, and say, just like, or the feds, just like they did with cell towers, like, you're going to allow. I think these are reasonable conditions. These address the four core principles of the state Supreme Court about what you can regulate: time, place, location. I forget the other two aspects. And I think that this puts us in a pretty good setting. It allows us for consistent reviews, and in our case too, we like to approach, or when developers approach us, that we have a system in place and things are pretty well outlined so they can make their decision in advance. So would urge the commission to consider it. We do have an opportunity, if I get any comments from the city attorney before our next meeting, but in an effort to get this in the books by March, I ask if the commission would entertain taking action in this.
Very good.
And be glad to answer any questions.
So one of the things that, and for the record, I'm a fan of data centers. But one of the things that's been a hot topic is the aesthetics. I think they're getting a bad rep. I think most of the time when they're built, they don't most people don't even know they're there. But if I reference back to some of our goals as a community that we've been working to put in place, I just would maybe challenge that we connect some of those dots to the actual lingo of the building and site design requirements and make sure that we're staying in line with our intention for setting a tone for the Olivet community. And whether or not that's a certain amount of landscaping or signage or uplighting, that it aligns, because that's the only thing I think that could go sideways, where if, even if it's a special permit and they come for approval, if we don't set some sort of boundaries to at least require them to put something on the outside that it adds additional aesthetic to the community or stay in line with our signage, then I think we'll be held to pass them without, and then therefore fall potentially into an industrial park look instead of enhancing the visualization of our community.
Carlos, would a petition still be subject to like community design review?
Yes. Any petition for a site plan, for a special permit would be submitting a community design review and a site improvement plan, which then addresses the landscaping lighting.
Got it. So
And-
then that's when we would match it to our
Correct.
goals. And
Mhm.
okay.
Now, what I would note, just in case there's an opportunity for more questions, at least what I envision would that someone would try to retrofit an existing building, so that the existing, whether, you know, we have some corrugated metal buildings out there, we have some old masonry buildings out there, we have some CMU buildings out there, that they would be going into a facility like that and trying to retrofit that, and they may do alterations for the front or so, but not a mass exterior cladding improvement to the exterior. Now, it's well within the commission's purview to push and request that too, as part of the, you know, the architectural design review, but it's always hard to put a nexus between, you know, somebody that's just expanding the door and then, but making them put windows in the back of the building in there.
Okay.
If somebody was tearing down a site to rebuild, then it's full compliance with the city's standards. So, in there, I still think that you know, through the special permit process and the building and site standards, you have authority to, and we did this similarly with property addresses 9321 Olive Boulevard, where Mercy is going to operate a facility, an ancillary pharmacy, and the commission requested that they do some facade improvements on the Olive Boulevard side and come back with those. So that would be an example of yes, you can in there. Now, again, that was an approval for that specific property at that time.
Any other further discussion? Any other questions?
I guess I'd just say this issue has come up with a group of elected officials that's working on sustainability issues throughout St. Louis. It's called Cool Cities. It's a new group, but elected officials from St. Louis City and St. Louis County have been getting together regularly to discuss different issues. And with data centers, you know, the biggest issue that comes up from a sustainability lens is the energy use and the water use. And one of the proposed solutions, now I don't know that anyone has actually put this in place, but just kind of putting this out there, is to have potential requirements specifically related to energy, that buildings would offset a certain percentage of their energy use with solar or some type of renewable energy, so that it's not having such a strong demand on the grid. My sense with the special permit is that that's not something we'd necessarily need to put in right now. I think, you know, the idea of moving this forward so that we have the special permit in place is a very good and important first step. And if doing something like that is of interest to council and the commission, that can be a discussion for a later time.
Carlos, don't we have some language in there that
We have, and it was a request for the petitioner to provide us some performance standards that can lead to those questions or requests to address anything from those reports. So that is there, but of course it's not required. If we were to take a look at that, and I've seen some of those, you know, we could put a standard that, you know, that a certain percentage be provided by, you know, alternative energy sources.
Did they state any percentages or
That's,
anything?
that's what I'd be kind of curious if it would be 25, 50, you know, and we had, I
Yeah.
think we have to be careful in terms of
Right.
and there, or we can kind of, we're asking here as one of the building and site standards is that they address the cooling. And we're pretty vague in terms of there, but we're telling them in advance that there's an expectation that we want to understand how they're cooling their systems. So we can add something similar like a cooling energy use. You know, what the goal here is that we're telling them in advance what our expectations are. And that's, and again, what I've seen is like, don't tell them what to do, but tell them what you're going to be looking at, or else you're going to pin yourself to a corner.
Yeah.
In there. So
Can we at least say something
yeah,
like,
we
oh,
can add that, can amend that and add some language regarding addressing either energy usage or
Like grid offsets or something.
yeah, or contributions
yeah,
from alternative energy.
should be incorporated, but
Yes.
don't necessarily specify the amounts,
Correct.
but just say it needs to be incorporated.
I think it's a good point. I think it's an easy.
I do too, and I think it's good.
Do we foresee this being something that comes to our attention often? I mean, I'm only surprised because we don't really have a lot of water. We're not sitting next to a river. Are we just kind of preemptively preparing,
It's
or has it come up?
primarily preemptive, in there. Two, because we are the highest point in St. Louis County. Both the city of St. Louis and the Missouri American Water have their central water units right here. So there is a lot of water, you know, it's not.
Just on the river, got it,
Correct.
okay.
And there's, so just to be aware of that, but the other aspects is, there was one building I was really concerned about, but it looks Mercy has taken that, in there, and that was like 100,000 square feet. I don't have many 100,000 square feet buildings in all of it,
Mhm.
in there. The industrial park gives us a great balance, and I hope that it would maintain to be an industrial park for the foreseeable future. And there, but like Brentwood, there's an inquiry in Brentwood to be putting one. There's like 6 of them in downtown St. Louis.
Mhm.
Notice it in there. Of course, there was a discussion of the Armory, and then you see those big, massive ones that are new builds.
Mhm.
But it's been interesting to find like how they could retrofit in there. Ms. Doty knows our building stock really well. I mean, one of her expertise is like on what businesses are looking for. We've been fortunate where like our ceiling heights are really low in there, and that, you know, that's been a blessing for the most part. But we still have one building out there that I'm concerned about after Mercy got theirs in there, because it's more of a warehouse, so it's not the highest and best use in there, but the buffer will take care of that one. In there, because it's right adjacent to some residential properties. Outside of that, no, our industrial parks are well occupied. And, you know, somebody would have to pay a big amount for a small property and either retrofit or build new, so that's additional costs. I just don't see us being on top of the list, but you never know.
Okay.
Okay, do we need to approve it?
I would recommend that the commission can this just to get the process.
Yeah.
We can always come back and make further amendments down the road.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If there's no other further discussion, do I hear a motion? Go ahead, Sam.
Motion to recommend to the city council a text amendment to amend chapter 400 zoning regulations as follows. Under Article 2 definitions, establish a definition for data centers. Under Article 9 LID Light Industrial District, amend section 400.830 permitted uses, paragraph A, permitted uses, item 13, to only allow wired telecommunication carriers. Under Article 9 LID Light Industrial District, amend section 400.840 special permitted uses to add data centers as defined under the 2007 NACIS 518. Amend Article 12 special permit uses to include under section 400.1223 subsection G, additional conditions by special permit use data processing, hosting, and related services as defined under NACIS 2007 SIC Code 518, as presented in the Department of Planning and Community Development staff memo dated February 5th, 2026.
Do we need to add the item that we just talked about?
Yes, some restriction, some condition regarding renewable energy.
Okay. Amend motion to require use of some form of renewable energy as an energy source for such a project.
Motion's been made by Sam Wallach. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And seconded by Jenna Nat. Carlos, you please call the vote.
Commissioner Ford,
Approved.
Commissioner Nat,
Approved.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approved.
Commissioner Wallach,
Approved.
Commissioner Jurgell.
Approved.
The motion passes unanimously, 5-0. This will go to the city council for a public hearing and first reading on March 10th.
Good. All right.
And if there are any comments received from the city attorney, we'll bring those to our February 19th meeting.
Perfect.
But this allows me to initiate the posting and notice.
No, I think that's
So
great.
thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to new business, but item A has been deferred, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we're moving on to item 5, the 2024 comprehensive plan update.
Okay.
Carlos.
Just a quick overview and then kind of show you where we're at in this, because there's a couple of members. Everybody's participated in the surveys in there, and we've accumulated those, and then we're now moving into our next steps, and I'll go over that in just a second. But just a quick overview, we have a vision statement. We have kind of a listed values and objectives type of statement that are part of the plan. We're creating community, diversity, sustainability, balanced economy, affordability, and connected built environment and sense of place. We have our community goals: high quality housing, equitable transportation network, sustainable infrastructure, quality city services and facilities to lead economic development, to be welcoming, to be safe, to be healthy, to strengthen our environmental sustainability, and to promote strategic redevelopment and growth. The council at a work session had identified their priorities regarding the implementation of the comprehensive plan. We've gone over those under Goal J, which is redevelopment and growth, was about chapter 428 and expanding those requirements, and then also the streetscape. They kind of go hand in hand. Under Goal I, strengthen environmental sustainability, to urge the commission to remove barriers to solar panel installations, which last month the commission adopted new regulations for residential solar panels, in which they no longer need to come to the commission for review if they meet certain criteria. And those will be going to the commission, also to the council, in March. To establish outdoor lighting regulations and to continue to improve the stormwater oversight regulations. Excuse me. Then Goal A, diverse housing, was to look at the possibility of subdividing larger lots into smaller lots to try to address some of the housing costs, and also new regulations to manage the size and impact of new homes and major developments. Then we asked the council to put theirs together. Ms. Doty sent out surveys, one survey every week, so you could go through the goal, its objectives, and then what they called the potential community actions, and then to rank those community actions in terms of how each individual would like to see them addressed first. And then so this slide, which we provided at our last meeting, kind of identifies the first three from the collective group in there, and those that are shown in red were kind of overlap with what the council priorities or recommended priorities were in there, and how they fell within the commission as a whole. Okay, so that's where we're at today. So tonight is bringing forward to you, and you have a paper copy in front of you, but now we've taken the commission's survey results along with the council, and we've started to put them in a worksheet and identify. You'll see in this worksheet at the very top are the primary goals: housing diversity, transportation equity, efficient infrastructure, economic development, environmental sustainability, and strategic redevelopment. Vertically on the left side, you'll see those potential community actions. I've also kind of broke them down into categories in there, and then the ones that are highlighted in yellow reflect those that were also priorities recommended by the council. And then you can see how each of those potential community actions addresses the individual objectives or goals, a suggested timeline on how long it would take for us to codify or come forward with amendments for the commission to consider to implement the potential community actions. Who's involved, whether it's a plan commission, whether council needs to be involved, and at what point, and when it's kind of a funding requirement, something that we're going to have to go for some outside assistance, and how it would be initiated, whether it's a staff or it's a consultant or it's another commissioner group that would provide that input in there. Kind of hard to read, but I we do have it online for you. You have a paper copy in here. The goal is, for me, and my staff, is to get an idea: is are we going in a good direction? Is this something so we can help the commission prioritize implementation of the comprehensive plan and provide timelines in this and how it's done in there.
Well, I
So
think
I'm open for any comments and all that. I know this is the first time you guys have gotten to see this in there, but the goal here would be, is this the framework or the expectation? And then we'll continue to go through this at our next meeting and refine.
I think this is great.
Good.
And if I don't remember with the previous strategic plan, us actually setting goals and stuff like this. And so I think this is fantastic. And I think we'll figure out what's going to be easy, what's going to be difficult, some of those timelines may change,
Yes.
Um,
And other things will come in that, again, we tried to add them in here. Like, we were working on short-term rentals, not a high priority in the comprehensive plan, but it is something that we've been trying to address and get a handle of, and I think we still need to do so. And then other things that have popped up in there. The other thing for council liaison, which would have been for Mr. Lewis without councilperson Pishon Hellman, is that there are some that will require funding or would be recommended by our staff that we would like outside consultant help in there. Given we have an election in April and a new council coming in and a new budget being set. So a lot of these, like some of these, it's like, it would make sense, like if there was a funding request for some outside help to come in after the next year in there, only because we still don't know the council, at this work session coming in, the council is going to be talking about their priorities and goals. And then that helps us in every department on how to prepare our budgets in there. There are some things that I'll be asking for on behalf of the commission and planning for funding, but I think some of these larger items, I'd be more confident if they get in line with the council's recommended goals in there. We'll find out what those are in there before making those type of requests in there. But I think we haven't done a full overhaul of our land use code. So that means zoning, subdivision, street, lighting, stormwater, somebody just to come in and just make sure it's in compliant with the comprehensive plan and any other further priorities that the council wants to see or the commission. But that, I think, that could be $120,000 type of request plus in there. So it would be seeing how we do this coming fiscal year and then being prepared for the next one. And then again, we'll go down, I think at the very end, you'll see Goal A, housing and diversity. Those were the remainder of the potential community actions. We'll do those for A, B, C, E, I, and J also, and we'll start adding on that list in there, and then relook at those dates. This is a 20-year plan. It's not the intent is not to implement it, overnight. It could be pretty aggressive, but that's where we would look for some input from the commission as a whole, not to oversaturate staff in there, but to make sure that it's possible, it's possible to put together. And are we focusing the time at the, in the right areas? So
I think it's good.
then I'll let Jack and Don, if there's anything you guys want to provide. They kind of went over it today too, so.
I have a quick question, okay, and I don't know the answer to this, but we're gonna start looking at green construction. We're gonna look at the new residential districts. We're also talking about doing the housing inventory and trying to keep things affordable. Some of the green housing might be more expensive and how that affects all of our goals, because I feel like with some of I know it reduces energy and stuff, but you do have an added upfront cost
Wait.
that's going to make the housing more expensive. So how do we balance that? I don't have an answer, but I know it's going to come up.
I think, yeah, I think it's worth the discussion. We're not the only community facing that same question. And I know from our planning organizations and all that, that they're discussing that. But at some point, I mean, you can do just incremental patchwork or really make a difference. And it becomes a question is like, well, how long are we going to wait before we implement it? And
Right.
to what extent is, the benefit and the cost, in there, and, looking at something from, like a return 5, 10, 20 years, and given what's going on. And we're kind of having a discussion internally regarding like, right now under the current building envelopes, you know, the old ranch houses were built there was 2x4s, and you had insulation in there. In 2009 or after 2009, when they started implementing a lot of the energy conservation into the building code, it became that you started using 2x6s on your exterior walls, and it's wider, wood members and
More insulation.
correct, and that does add costs, and you're filling in there, but it does increase the energy efficiency. Under the 2021 code, now the new wall is a 2x8, and we're getting some pushback, not pushback, some inquiries about what is the cost benefit of that by now going by 2x8. There's a couple of things that eventually happened. The code is somewhat new, even though it's a 2021. But if you recall, I think it was 2012 when the International Code Council changed their codes to reflect energy conservation. I mean, it was expensive to buy an LED light bulb. Now it's more expensive to buy an incandescent light bulb than it is an LED light bulb.
Yeah.
So some of that is that transition and in there. So where you have to start it, and whether all of that would be the one that solves that, I don't know. Everybody's kind of struggling with that. It's a valid question, but then it's a valid thing that we got to start somewhere.
Right.
It was advised at the conference that we attended recently, the one STL. And it was really interesting. They saw it as a way to stay in place for people to make their existing structures more affordable for them going forward. And I do think, there's an expectation of that savings catching up or the expense to continue climbing, in that it makes the repairs, it incentivizes the repairs essentially.
Yeah.
In the cost benefit. But as Carlos was saying, so.
Okay.
I think I'd just like to say that if the commission is interested in learning more about green buildings, we have an excellent Missouri Gateway Green Building Council. And I think leaning on the expertise and the resources of people who do this every day and who are often, faced with the question of, oh, but it's going to raise costs, upfront costs. I think just having someone from there, Emily Andrews is their director. She's wonderful and gives presentations to groups of all different kinds all the time. I think would be a real benefit for the commission.
I actually think they're hosting an event next Tuesday, if anyone's interested.
Yes,
It's a
there's
free
eight
to
of
attend at Tarleton.
Yeah.
Oh,
State of the Council, I think is
Mhm.
their like annual review.
Fantastic.
So Carlos, what do you see as like our next steps here? Are we going to whittle this down a little bit, pick a couple, and then we'll set aside time in each meeting to try and address them?
First, I would like to go back and then, and actually before whittling down, expand this to make sure we have all the items on the comprehensive, the potential community actions listed. It gives us a better way to make sure we understand each of them. There's a lot of duplicates that kind of run back and forth that might whittle down, components of that list. And then come back to the commission. We've heard your priorities, we've heard the council's priorities, and recommend those that we can do, start looking at this from those that we want to do it the 6 months, 12 months, and see if the commission's concurs with that, or they'd like to see other things moved up. So I think you're going to see at their next meeting an expanded list, and then we'll start coming back down to the focusing and bringing that to something a little bit more manageable.
Okay.
Carlos, can I ask a question? As part of the online packet, and this is because I haven't been in the other meetings, but there's these pages here that go through goals and are the rankings on the side, like, are these ranked in order from how the commission prioritizes
So the
them?
commission was assigned a 1, 2, and 3, a point system of 1, 2, and 3 to each one of those, 1 being not a high priority, 3 being a high priority, and then 2 just being in the middle.
Okay.
And then we added all those numbers to each one of those, and then ranked them in terms of what received the most votes.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's very helpful. You guys have been doing a lot of work. Thank you for doing all this work.
Carlos has been making us.
That's good. Thank you, Carlos, for making that.
There's been the late nights and we're like, do we really have to do this, Carlos?
I really appreciate
Yeah.
the amount of time and effort you guys have been putting into this.
Yeah. All right, well, good. I guess we'll move on to other business unless there's any further discussion. So we'll move on to meeting minutes. And I see one for December 4th, 2025. Nicely done, so acknowledged. And we will move on to reports.
Okay,
Carlos?
real quickly, you have a list of events that are scheduled for the community in this month. The one I'd like to highlight here is that the St. Louis County Department of Health is going to have a town hall meeting here regarding air source regulations and compliance determinations. That's open to the public. It will be held here at our council chambers, and in what's 6:00 p.m. Oh, I thought it was gonna be in here. Bible. So they will entertain questions submitted in advance in there. At first, I thought this was because they held one last year that was more for inspectors. We had attended regarding air quality for demolitions and things of that nature. I think this is just an open town hall meeting in there to talk about air source regulations. If you know a little bit.
Yeah,
about
I
it.
think my sense is that it is a little bit more tailored towards an issue that has been coming up for folks in the Indian Meadows subdivision as well as in Grandview subdivision, where there are concerns related to AZZ galvanizing facility. So it's my understanding is that it's more tailored towards the concerns happening there.
What are the concerns?
Neighbors are concerned with potential air pollution, noise concerns. There've been some ongoing complaints through St. Louis County because the facility is in unincorporated St. Louis County. There, it's our residents, Olivet residents, but the property is not in Olivet. So there's
Just on the north side of the DePere River,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
All right.
Okay, good.
Our next meeting is February 19th. And then I just want to bring everybody in the loop just so we're aware, and any heads up on these would be beneficial. For March, we have a meeting on the 5th and the 19th. Note the Ladue School District spring break is the 13th to the 20th. So if there are members that are going to have a conflict, let me know. That way we can inform our applicants in advance and then also talk if we need to reschedule on a different date.
Carlos, I will be out on the 19th.
So
You can probably mark me out on the 5th,
for the which one?
March.
March 5th. Due date's the 6th.
But not necessarily this having a spring break issue. Yours is completely different.
We're not going anywhere. No.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
I have to check the spring break because it depends on where I'm
Yeah.
at, but I'll check.
Right. Then for April, our meetings are the 2nd and the 16th. Passover starts on the 1st, and I wasn't sure if that affects that. I don't believe I don't have any Catholics for Maundy Thursday. We used to have a member that had to be off that day, so.
It does, that's traded on, but it starts at.
I did. So, and then in May, I was more concerned about the 21st, if anybody had conflicts with graduation or so. And then we should be clear for September because both observances fall on different dates. And also for December, we should be okay.
Wow.
I should mention May 21st, I believe, is the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend. Is that
Mhm.
right? So I'm here, but I'm just making everyone
No,
aware.
appreciate it.
I guess there's long
Yeah.
weekends there.
Okay,
Right.
great.
Then on the updates, just a couple of things. We received one of our applicants, and actually it was a petitioner that was here. After I posted the agenda, which includes his application, and generally I just scan that and add it to the packets. In there, the following day, he received an invoice from the city of Olivet with its logo for an amount for a couple of thousand that had to be electronically deposited to a specific account number with my signature. And 2 weeks prior, Commissioner Jurgel had told me that he had received the same thing through his firm from another community in that. And then this month, APA did a spotlight about these fraud invoices, and I sent that out there. So what we've done at least now is that we went back to the application for this customer along with the other one that was on tonight's agenda and redacted the phone number and the email.
Good.
Yeah, the phone, yeah,
Good idea.
email. Oh, that, okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then all those applications are on our website now. I mean, and we go back to whenever we got, but maybe 2008. So we are, kind of working on going back and redacting or removing the application completely
Wow.
from online. And it's one of those things, we do it because we get requests or calls, and it's easier to direct people for public information to the website out of transparency. Like we have nothing to hide. We're putting all in there, and then you have these events or things that happen. In addition to that, we're putting in our emails noting that in no case does the city ever collect payment unless it directly calls the customer or the customer comes in and makes the payment. You don't do it any other way. We don't do.
We don't have online payment
Right,
systems.
So we're noting that to them. So
Good,
Um,
good, good,
it
good.
was pretty surprising in there. Olive Crossing, the signage at the Paris Baguette is up facing the parking lot, but the brass tap has it on all 3 sides. And speaking of the brass tap, their scheduled grand opening will be March 26th. So,
Wow.
okay. Lot 6, which is the hotel. They were moving dirt earlier this week. We'll be checking up on the progress, but as of yet, we're still waiting for the application for building permits and all that to get going. Irvington Place Apartments, they're looking to start occupancies in the beginning of April. No, is it April? Okay.
Wow.
So facility looks great. I think it fits well. I mean, it is a larger building, but I think because of the breaks of the building, it's not a single family home, but it doesn't like overshadow it. It's there, you can tell, but I think they did a nice job breaking the mass. In there, they got a great website, a lot of good information about all of that in there.
I just-
Oh, they're looking at April to start occupancies.
Late March or early.
The city has received the final okay, and I believe will go to council at their next meeting to start improvements at the intersections of North Price and Olive and Dillman Industrial and Olive. And what we will be doing is adding an additional right turn lane, which will help backups that people coming out of there. We used to have over 3,500 people that worked in the industrial park. That should improve a lot of the traffic movement for people going west in there, because if somebody was going towards 170, you were just completely backed up from that point on. In there, that is consistent with our Olive Boulevard master plan. It is consistent with the Northwest Quadrant's traffic study. In addition to that, some things to note, and I was going to try to get the numbers, but these are important things to know, and I'm sorry to take up the time. But I believe, Olivet's contributions to those two interchange improvements is maybe 25% of the total cost, because we are doing this with ARPA money and then surface transportation funds. In addition to our 25% or so, through this commission and through the approval of the council, Irvington Place Apartments contributed $170,000 to those total costs.
Wow.
So again, we're the plans, we're utilizing our plans, we're leveraging our resources, and we're trying to make sure that our taxpayers get the best return for their investments here. Mercy had their special permit at the council meeting last week. All went well. They'll have their final reading next week, and we'll see if the council is ready to take action on that. Planning staff, including Jack, Don, myself, and then our council liaison, attended the 2026 Climate Action Summit. It was put together by OneSTL. It was a very impressive summit about sustainability, green energy. They talked about data centers, trees, stormwater, all sorts of things. I think that everybody came back with a lot of input, a lot of insight in there, and a lot of so it was a great a session that was put together by the group, and I think that was their second one since in there. That being said, I am now part of the Municipal and County Resilience Alliance, which is MACRA, which is a professional planning group that will provide, opinions regarding resilience and sustainability actions in there. So along with the city of St. Louis, and then I'll find out what other peers will be on there. So we received updated FEMA maps, our floodplain maps, and this has been since 2018 when we've had a couple of open houses here at our community center. FEMA is updating our flood maps. They significantly impact several parts of the city that were not in the floodplain. The reason they were not in the floodplain is that when those maps were put together, they stopped at I-170 and then just said, it's possible this way. Well, now they've mapped out this way, and in that being said, properties that were never illustrated in there are now in there. And they've been notified, they've been given opportunities to provide comment, both here through hostings that we had and also directly with the State Emergency Management Agency in there. But a lot of our new council, probably whether they were involved or were aware, that'll be something coming to you. Ultimately, those maps have to come here to the commission and then get approved by council.
Have you seen them yet?
Pardon?
Have you
Yes, yeah,
seen-
and they've been up for a good time, and I can bring it up in a second if you'd like to see them.
Yeah, I'm curious.
The other is city council will be holding a retreat. I think that's going to be in a couple of weeks. In there, that retreat, will give, they'll discuss their priorities, which will then impact how we respond back with our budgets, and also how commissions and boards, prioritize what they implement. And of course, that affects what we're working on our fiscal year budget for year 2027. And I think there's been discussion there are some outside, we used to do this in the past, but it was rare that we had any interest. where we would fund commission members to go to seminars or trainings in there. And I think that there's been some discussion about that and that there may be some opportunities. But again, I know it's difficult. You already do 2 meetings a month and then these are kind of all set. But if anybody does have interest, let me know so I can make sure to advocate on that behalf. There's some good things out there, but it does take time in there. But it's a good investment in there. I have been appointed or elected as a member of the American Planning Association Metro Section Board and also now the chairman for its Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So I wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lastly, the Business and Restaurant of the Year nominations is up, and I believe the website is now up and operating. Ms. Doty, is there anything you want to add?
That is correct. Please nominate your favorite restaurants and businesses. You can use the form as many times as you want, and you can put in up to 6 businesses total. So 3 businesses and 3 restaurants. So
And
have at
where
it.
do we find that?
It is on our website. On the doing business page, there's actually a QR code out front too. But if you go on to our doing business in Olivet part of our webpage, then select the business awards, which is on the tab on the left-hand side at the very bottom. So, and that will take you right to it, the explanation and the survey. So you might recognize my general survey style.
It's hard to believe that it's already been a year since we did it
know.
before.
It's 3 years running now on the business awards, and we really picked up a lot of steam after the first year. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, great. All right, Carlos, you're pulling up the map.
Yes, so that's all the updates I have, and I'll let the council liaison. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so a few updates from council. Our council retreat was rescheduled. It was supposed to happen when we got all that snow. And it's now rescheduled. I think it's for the February 22nd. It's a Sunday. We also had our audit go through in previous council meeting back in January. So I'm not sure if Brian gave you an update on that, but the audit went through. It's clean, good.
Great.
It's always important to let people know that that the audit comes when it comes back clean, which it does for us.
Good.
Mr. Mann does an incredible job keeping us on the straight and narrow. If you haven't heard yet, we had a new wonderful reciprocal agreement that is going to, I don't know that it's in effect yet, but it was approved by council between Creve Coeur and Olivet so that Creve Coeur residents will be able to use 5 Oaks at the Olivet resident rate, and Olivet residents will be able to use the Creve Coeur ice rink and golf course at the Creve Coeur resident rate. So that's a wonderful reciprocal agreement that was, the deal was brokered through our Parks and Recreation Department, and really great collaborative effort there. Yeah. The council at our most recent work session approved the process of moving forward with the EDC to put out a survey of our businesses to start getting some feedback. So that will be going back to EDC to just get approval, and will hopefully be going out to businesses soon. And I'm hoping that there'll be some good information from those surveys, both for the Economic Development Commission, but also for planning as well. I think there's a lot of overlap in what both commissions do. And then also at our work session this past Tuesday, we discussed 2 Missouri legislative House bills that are important for us to be aware of. One is House Bill 2384. I don't expect that you will remember these numbers, but it is a House bill that has passed through the committee and is on its way to the House that would restrict municipalities from enacting an energy code beyond 2009. Olivet has the 2021, just recently adopted the 2021 building code. So if this were to pass the legislature, we would have to go back in time and adjust back to 2009. This is not supported. It is opposed by the Municipal League of Missouri and the St. Louis Municipal League as well. We'll see where that goes. Lots of times things come up and they don't go anywhere, but it's something we're keeping an eye on. The other is House Bill 2761, which would eliminate the solid waste management districts and shift that focus to the DNR. What that means for us on a practical level is that we use grants from the St. Louis, Jefferson County solid waste management districts to fund our e-waste recycling effort that takes place annually. That would be gone. Those grant opportunities would no longer exist. The DNR might recreate them in some way. It's hard to know, but the entity that creates those grants would no longer exist. And the Parks Department also recently applied and received grant funding from the same solid waste management districts to put in some new recycling containers. So this is another one that the Missouri Municipal League has not weighed in on yet, but the St. Louis Area Municipal League has come out in opposition. So, and that one has not yet passed committee. So we'll see, but I think it's important, to just kind of be aware what's happening at a broader level and how that might impact us locally, and to also remind everyone that you are all constituents of your state legislative representatives and can contact them if you are so inclined.
Great update. Thank you very much. Because a lot of those things we don't I may not pick up on, and then you're, having that update's great. So thank you. All right. That being said, any other updates, comments?
Over you have the FEMA maps,
Oh, yeah.
right in front of you on the dais and up on the screen. And again, the old maps didn't go past 170. They just said there's a potential for flooding in here. Now they're identifying the specific flooding areas. The blue represents floodway where you are restricted to build. And the orange areas represent the 500-year floodplain where you can build in there, but you kind of, you be careful with your grading and all that. I'm going to go in here a little bit closer in there, and you can see there are several structures in the blue. This represents the channel that goes right by Niksakari. And there, this represents the area that is the channel overfilled, which could happen in a 1% chance every 100 years to be floodplain. So all these houses now are in the floodplain. They'll be required to get flood insurance in there. And then, of course, they have limitations to what can be done to the structure. Now, this goes back in, to some extent, the commission has seen this, but it's been a long while. Back in 2018, we brought it to the attention to the residents, to the council, to the commission in here, and wanted to get our response together to challenge the mapping and all that, and which we did in there, and so did the residents. They had opportunities to forward comments online and to mailing comments to the organization putting this together on behalf of the state, and which they did. And what happened, if you require, I forgot which hurricane it wasn't Katrina, but where Brentwood got really flooded in there from the after effects. And right along here is the new multi-pathway bike trail that goes to Del Mar. There's a pretty big culvert underneath 170, but that pathway is under, it used to be an old train bed, and that path, the culvert underneath is really small. And when we had that big rain, at least it's in my belief, we had a tree limb that got stuck here along with a couch and some whatever, who else knows what, and this area did flood. And it was the first time, you know, at least since I had been here since 2002, that we had ever experienced any flooding in this area. And we thought it was because of the backlog that happened there, but no, they calculated, and this culvert is just too small. And the cost, it would be very expensive to expand that in there, but that was the rationale of why they are showing that in a big rain event, there's just too much water volume and it's going to back up into these areas. In there are some properties that are going to benefit, that are going to get a reduction. And then as you go here to Dealman, and here's the bike trail, same situation. There's a culvert crossing here. And again, just the volume of water just is too much, that it backs up, and it has the potential to impact this house here in there. And therefore, they're also part of the 100.
Didn't they redo that culvert?
No, we were, and this is on a different council. They decided that not to take, it was going to be too expensive, and that we would just resurface the top.
There's a new house being built, right?
Yeah, I
On
was
that edge, isn't there?
just gonna say, not too long ago, we approved some new houses right in this area because they
No, back
No, I
when you
think
just
it's
were
back where
Oh, no.
right by the
So
bike trail.
That's
the bottom.
on Bonham Woods.
Bonham
Drive.
Woods.
let's go back again. Sorry, guys. Okay, so yes, we approved, I think we've gotten up to maybe 2 or 3. But we knew about the maps. Again, these have been out there since 2018. So we required them to increase their elevation. We usually try to keep elevations low, but in this case, we made sure that their basement elevation was 1 foot above the designated flood elevation, so they could do a finish. Now, what they would do, again, FEMA wasn't going to go back out there and redo this whole map because a new house is there. What that house owner will do is submit a kind of a letter to SEMA or FEMA directly and get a letter of map amendment. And then their house will be out of the floodplain, but the map's still going to look like this. But they'll have a sheet of paper that says that they're officially out, given their elevations. So when those 2 houses were built, we made sure that they were aware, because I couldn't enforce this, but I knew the information and could make sure that they built the house high enough to be out.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that on the Bonham Woods, new builds there.
Yeah, because it was
we
at the
had-
back
we
end
had
of the
discussed
property.
it.
Yeah.
And then Jack was right. Right here, this is where that 2-lot split occurred on the
Right.
White Rose.
Yeah.
And then we also, made sure that he was built up, the house was built up.
Okay.
And again, that's not to build up the grade and mound the house, but to make sure that the elevations were brought up. So you have a little bit more foundation exposure, but we usually require it to get covered in there. So you'll have a porch that may be like 4 feet above the grade. When you get it.
Can you scroll down just a small bit?
What
That
area?
Long Acres Drive, is that true? Is that representative of current status? How far that goes?
Yeah,
the
it doesn't
end.
show the houses, but this is where that new
It's the end.
subdivision is at. Mhm.
Okay.
You may be able to see the newer houses if you turn on the aerial in the layers. It's in the option, but it's kind of,
That's fine. I was just curious if it reached that point or not.
And then we have in the upper areas a lot of reduction because this is now more channelized in there. We were extremely surprised about this one because this is a channel, a concrete channel in there. But I understand what they're saying, but that was that one occurrence, and I thought it was more because of the items that got clogged up
Oh,
in there that
yeah.
Public Works went out there and pulled.
Does this impact the hotel side at all?
No,
Okay.
no, there's a further down. The way these lots are, it starts like somewhere around here.
Okay.
I know what you're saying. Good point.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Being none, thanks, everybody. We'll adjourn at 8:25.
Thank you, Chairman.
Wanted to get it done before 8:30.
Thank you. I'll make that time.
That's weird.
8, almost.
We don't like to
10.
talk about tonight.